Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Hockey Journey Podcast, episode number 29, the Elliott, Kerr Hockey Journey, presented to you by OnlineHockeyTraining.com. I'm your host, Coach Lance Pitlick. If you're new here, please make sure you subscribe so you won't miss out on any future episodes. Before we tap into this conversation, if you want to learn more about me, my hockey experiences, what I know, and most importantly, how I've been helping players get really good with a stick and puck, just head on over to OnlineHockeyTraining.com and gain instant access to my 10-part video series where I'll show you everything. Consider it my gift to you. If you haven't heard of Elliott Kerr, then you probably want to have a listen to this interview because this guy is a rock star in a couple different industries, hockey being one of them. Mr. Kerr is the founder and president of Landmark Sports Group, Inc., a Mississauga, Ontario-based company that represents athletes and television personalities as well as event marketing. He is also the owner of the Mississauga Steelheads, an Ontario Hockey League franchise, and also created the Mississauga Marathon in 2004, which is now a qualifier for the Boston Marathon and was inducted into the Mississauga Walk of Fame Legends Roll back in 2014. This is going to be a great conversation, so ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming Elliott Kerr to the show. Elliott, welcome to the Hockey Journey Podcast.
Hey, well, wonderful to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I appreciate you taking the time and speaking with me, as I'm super excited to hear your journey. Over the years, you've created quite a business empire, and I want to know how you did it. And I'm sure there are others who want to hear the story as well. But before we get to all your accomplishments, let's tap the brakes, go back in time to where it all started. Where are you from? What was your childhood like? Your introduction to hockey and other sports? I guess give our listeners a peek under the hood to what it was like growing up Elliott Kerr.
Well, that's, happy to do it. And I guess for your listeners, you said we're from Mississauga, Ontario. For those who don't know where Mississauga is, when you fly into Toronto International Airport, you're in Mississauga. So we're just a million population community just west of Toronto. I grew up in St. Catharines, Ontario, which is like about a 5-iron from Niagara Falls. And a young boy in high school, in Sunday evenings, we used to go watch the St. Catharines Blackhawks play. And playing for that team was Marcel Dion. And his kids, and we used to, after the second period, they'd let you in for free into the arena because the games were always sold out. So my buddies and I in grade 12, grade 13 Sunday nights we'd go and get in and watch the third period for free and standing room only and watching one of the greats of all time play hockey as a junior hockey player. So, that's where so a little boy in grade 12 in St. Catharines had a dream maybe one day I can own a hockey team. And that was my first real introduction to up close what a hockey team looked like when Marcel Dion was playing junior hockey for the St. Catharines Blackhawks. And in that same year, the Canadian Championship of Junior Hockey is called the Memorial Cup. And St. Catharines, Marcel Dion's team, played Guy Lafleur's team in the Memorial Cup. So can you imagine Marcel Dion and Guy Lafleur playing in the Memorial Cup? Anyway, so that goes back. And so as a little boy, I had a dream. I had a dream that one day maybe I'd be fortunate enough to own a hockey team. And that's kind of, it's been a journey. But if I go back, where did it ever even enter my mind? It was probably those high school days watching the local junior team play.
Did you ever have dream? I mean, if you're in Canada, don't they pull out the kids from the womb with their hockey skates on already? Did you dream of one day playing, in those games that you were watching as a kid?
Oh, for sure I did, but it doesn't take very long to figure out your limitations as an athlete. I was a good hockey player and I was a good golfer, but as you advance and get older, you recognize how competitive it is, how many talented young people there are out there. And I recognized pretty early that I better get a good education because my livelihood was not going to be made from golf or hockey. Still love both sports though. And so I did. I worked hard, and my summers was able to put myself through. I did my undergraduate degree at Western University in London, Ontario, and then I did my MBA at Queen's University in Kingston, and then embarked on my business career after that.
So when early in your career, after you graduated from Queen's, you spent some time with IMG. Was that opportunity right out of college? And what did you learn from that experience and eventually pushed you into venturing out on your own?
IMG was not my first job out of school. No, I had a couple of, I worked initially right out of school for a company called Canadian Liquid Air Liquide, and they're in the business of producing welding gases, welding equipment, oxygen for hospitals, etc. And I did that for a few years and realized this wasn't for me. Took the summer off and with a friend traveled through Europe with a pack on my back. Came back and started with the Ford Motor Company, Ford of Canada. And I was with Ford of Canada for, I'm going to say about 6 years. And I reached a point where I didn't want to go where success was taking me. I was on a pretty quick path in terms of climbing the corporate ladder, but it wasn't for me. And in and around that time, I discovered that IMG had opened a Canadian office in Toronto. And I reached out to the person who was running the office, and I basically chased him for 2 years until he hired me. And so I left Ford, joined IMG. I can tell you I took a 40% salary cut. I gave up a free car and a bunch of vacation weeks and started at IMG because I knew this was me. I knew this is what I wanted, and I would have done it for nothing. So I did, and I was with IMG for, I'm going to say 4 or 5 years. They asked me to move to the U.S. and head up their North American sales force. And I decided if I was ever going to try it on my own, I'm going to stay in Canada and give it a go rather than venture south of the border. And so I embarked. I created Landmark Sport Group, and I believe it was 1987, and working and renting an apartment. My mother typing for me in the evenings and sweating to pay my rent monthly just to get going. So that's how it all began.
Okay, so you talked about Landmark Sports Group is up and running. You move your offices from Toronto to Mississauga as you continue to grow the business and your reputation. So when did Canadian junior hockey become part of your portfolio? Because I think I read somewhere that you were in an ownership group that included Don Cherry.
Yeah, so the genesis there was I started Landmark. I had some early successes, and I'm thankful for that. So basically, my business became representing Olympic athletes, professional golfers, sport television broadcasters, and creating and managing sporting events. So I did that, and Landmark was doing well. And then I did move my office from downtown Toronto to Mississauga. Really, the convenience thing. I had a boy and girl twins were born, and it would save me a lot of time working closer to home. So I made that decision. And in about that time, there was a group putting a bid together to the Ontario Hockey League to bid for a new franchise in Mississauga. And the team was initially called the Mississauga Ice Dogs. And I was a minority partner in that original ownership group that included Don Cherry. So yeah, it was, I loved Don, great hockey guy, great person. Enjoyed getting to know him and working with him over those years.
So you learned some things there being a minority owner. Let's transition to when you tried to get your own franchise, and how did that all go down?
Well, the Mississauga franchise was controlled by a labor fund, and their mandate was to purchase assets and resell them. So the franchise got sold, and me being a minority partner, I had to sell with the group. And then, but I enjoyed that experience. And then there was a group selling the Guelph Storm franchise, and I put a group together and purchased the Guelph Storm. And we ran that team successfully for a number of years. And then I'd say 4 or 5 years into that, the mayor of Mississauga, Hazel McCallion at the time, she approached me about buying the Mississauga team because the owner then was Eugene Melnick, who sadly passed away recently, owner of the Ottawa Senators. And so I bought the team from him because the mayor was afraid the team would get sold to a group and the team would leave to another town. So I sold my interest in Guelph, purchased the Mississauga team, and kept it in Mississauga. And it's been 10 years. This is year 10 for us. And I'm happy to tell you that last night we evened up our first round series 2-2 with a double overtime victory last night. So you're catching me on a high.
Oh, wow. You had a late night last night.
Yeah, exactly.
Playoff hockey is so awesome. Has your squad ever won the Memorial Cup?
We have not. I'm going to say 3-4 years ago, we made it to the OHL final, and we lost to Erie at the time. Had we won that series, we would win in the Memorial Cup, but we lost in 6 games. So that's as close as we've come. But we like our team this year. We're young. We will have 3 to 4, possibly 5 of our players on our team right now who will be chosen in the upcoming NHL draft in Montreal in June. And 2 of them could go first round. So we're a young team, overachieving, thanks to the leadership and the direction of our head coach and GM James Richmond. And we're going to be really good this year and obviously for the next few years as well.
Well, that's got to be exciting. Were there some years where things just, you read almost like the Montreal Canadiens this year, that everything that could go wrong for a franchise went wrong in a season?
Well, in our league, it's an age-restricted league, as you probably know. The majority of the players are basically 17 to 19 years of age. So players age out. So it's kind of a peaks and valleys process because your players, you draft them into the OHL, and then a few years later, get drafted into the NHL, and then and some decide to turn pro, and they move on. So it's there's a peaks and valleys approach to it. You take a run, and then you build it back up again. And in that process, are there some years where the team doesn't do as well while you're building? Yeah. There's where you have to rely on great community support, good local corporate support, solid relationships with schools and minor hockey, so you can survive in those difficult years. I've always believed in this market, this Mississauga community, and we service just not Mississauga. We are the only OHL team in the Greater Toronto area, which would include not only Mississauga but Oakville, Brampton, and Toronto itself.
Wow, so you can reach a lot of people there.
Yeah, exactly.
When players that you've seen a lot of players go through your team. Any of them mainstays in the NHL right now?
Well, there's a few, depending on your hockey. But if you look at the New Jersey Devils, we have Michael McLeod and Nathan Bastian, who are playing for the Devils right now. Ryan McLeod playing for the Edmonton Oilers. Owen Tippett for the Flyers in Philadelphia. Nick Hague in Vegas. So, and a lot of others who are coming up through the system playing in the American League. Like one of our great young players, Cole Schwindt's going to play with the Florida Panthers tonight. So yeah, so we've got a few players, and it's a credit to our development system, our coaches, what they do in terms of developing not only great hockey players but great people as they move and they get older and they graduate from our league.
I'm sure that that's got to be really gratifying when you see a kid do well and make it to that top level. I'm curious, as an owner, do you have any say in when the draft comes around, or are you just delegating everything and whatever the staff does, they do?
Well, to be an owner, you're not doing it for any financial return. You're doing it because you love the sport. And I have a great relationship with our head coach and GM, James Richmond. And so, do I have input? Yeah, I have input. But I'm not a hockey guy. I'm a hockey fan. I know my limitations, but I do my best to be involved. I do my best to understand and what the team's looking for and the kind of character people we want to draft. So I do get involved, but at the end of the day, the calls are the coaching and scouting staff make all the decisions. I'm part of the process, but I'm not the decision maker. I know what I'm good at, and I know what I'm not.
And that's half the battle, if you can even just recognize that. A quick word from our sponsor, Sniper's Edge Hockey.
Sniper's Edge Hockey is your one-stop shop for your at-home hockey training needs on and off the ice. Find the perfect start to your at-home training area with slick tiles, synthetic ice, or a rink liner. Or upgrade your home setup with one of our top-quality training tools to help you work on soft hands, all of your dekes and dangles, perfect your one-timer, and improve the power and accuracy of your shot. Find it all online and in stock for immediate shipping at snipersedgehockey.com.
Tell me about the Mississauga Marathon. When did that idea pop into your head, and what kind of impact has that had on the city?
Well, this is we're actually the 19th year is happening this weekend. So amazing timing on your part for you and I to be speaking. So it'll be 20 years in 2023. The genesis was honestly I'm still a runner, not as avid as I once was, and I've only run one full marathon. And after I did, I ran one in Toronto, and I said, after I finished it, I said, here, I live in Mississauga, the sixth largest city in Canada that does not have a signature marathon. So once again, I approached the city, the mayor at the time, Hazel McCallion, and I said, I'd like to create a Mississauga Marathon and showcase our great city to the world. And the mayor was very supportive. And I ran my marathon in, 2001, I think. And a couple of years later, we had the inaugural Mississauga Marathon, and here we are 19 years later. And we've had upwards of 15,000 runners in years past, and we've become one of the premier mass participation running events in the country. So we're very proud of it, and I love it when people tell me that because of the marathon, they discovered the beautiful scenery within the city and the wonderful waterfront that we have. A lot of it's open to the public, and many people wouldn't have discovered it if it wasn't for our event. So very proud of it, and look forward to it being a legacy piece, I guess. In years to come, this thing will go forever. That's the plan, anyway.
That's fantastic. My two kids that play hockey, and we would always go to a tournament up in Winnipeg called North American Classic or something like that. It was great because there's all kinds of Canadian teams up there. Being from Minnesota, where they're a different brand of hockey, but if you made it to the championship Sunday, there was always the marathon that happened that weekend, and you really had to plan. So I'm sure that you brought a lot to the city there. You've never ran in the marathon, though? Did you your own marathon?
Well, I've run in our event. We offer not only a full marathon distance, we offer a half marathon a 10K, a 5K,
okay.
and a 2K. So when I talk about the participants, it's an accumulation of all of those distances. So have I run our full? No, I have not. I have run our half, and I have run our 10K. I've not done our full. Me running a full marathon, those days are behind me.
You and me both. How does it work that it's a qualifier for the Boston Marathon? Like people can go there, they have to go there in order to qualify. I didn't even know that you had to qualify for the Boston Marathon.
Yeah, there's so much demand for people to participate in the Boston event that they cut it off at a certain number, and you have to be able to run a minimum certain time, and these times are defined by age group, and so we've had our course certified so that it is so someone can try to qualify for Boston, and the time in our event, because we certify our course, can make them eligible, hopefully with a good time, to participate in the Boston Marathon. So we're very proud of that, and our course, very cool. It's we finish on the Lake Ontario waterfront, and we're a net downhill course, so it's very popular with serious runners and recreational runners as well.
Well, my business partner that connected both of us, he lives probably about an hour away from Mississauga. So next time that I'm in his area, well, I'll try to time it where either I can see a Steelhead game or I can check out the marathon. So I don't see you as a guy who sits still too long. Any new ventures on the horizon that you can chat about?
You know what? At this moment in time, no. I've got lots to focus on. My twins are now in grade 11, so another year and change they'll be out heading to university. So I'm a single parent, so I'm guiding them through that process. And the focus now is keep developing our hockey team and becoming an important part of the market of our community here in Mississauga. And I have a number of PGA Tour clients too, and assisting and guiding them both on and off the course. It's like I got lots on my plate. I don't need to take on anything new at the moment.
Well, yeah. One of the things that I've struggled with, and I'm interested to see how you answer this, but is work-life balance. Because there's times where I get completely immersed into what I'm doing and basically ignore the rest of the world. Does that happen to you as well?
Oh, you bet. I want to say, as I said earlier, being a single parent with boy-girl twins and bringing them up, I've had some assistance, but it's been there was a point in time when I sold off my golf division. This was about 7 years ago. I had too much on my plate, and clearly parenting being my number one priority. So I sold off my golf division so I could just lessen my load a little bit. And as I mentioned to you, I moved my office from downtown Toronto to Mississauga, so that would save me some time as well. And all of it was to do with trying to create a proper balance. And I'm comfortable that I made the right decision, and I'm even back after I sold my golf division. I had a non-compete that covered off a few years, but that's now passed. So I'm back in it in a very selective way. And that's kind of how I've built my business since. It's quality, not quantity. And I say to athletes all the time, whether you're a summer Olympian, winter Olympian, or a professional golfer, you're not just interviewing me as a possible agent. I'm interviewing you as a possible client. And to me, I only want to work with athletes of character. You could be the best a gymnast or the best golfer in the world. If you don't exude character, then I will take a pass on you. I've been doing this long enough to know how important it is to work with really, really good people. And I'm proud to say that's what we've built our golf division and athlete division on ever since.
You got to have a solid foundation, and you got to put your flag down to show everyone where you stand. And it's a testament to you, because obviously you're not going to be in business very long if you don't have strong pillars, which it sounds like you do. So I get in front of a lot of passionate hockey players that have lofty goals. not only with hockey, but life after sport in the business world. What's some advice you can give the listeners on how to achieve your goals and dreams? Because you seem to have figured it out, what the correct formula is.
Well, the first thing I would say is, and it's like, if you don't have dreams, they can't come true. And don't let anybody tell you you can't do this, you can't do that, or you can't own a hockey team, or you can't become a sports agent, or you can't become an NHL player. It's all possible. The question becomes, are you prepared to put in the work and the time and the commitment? Because that's what it takes. The other thing I would say to young athletes is take responsibility for your actions. I see too often, especially in the sport of hockey, where the coach doesn't know how to use me. The coach doesn't know what he's doing. My agent's not doing a good job for me. It's like, no, it's not your coach. No, it's not your agent. Take responsibility for your actions. You make it happen. You're the one on the ice. Don't look for people to blame. Take responsibility for your actions and work hard, and good things will happen.
Isn't that the truth? And that's across every sector. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's sport, if it's business, all these principles, and the sounding board is always the same. If you don't put in the work, you're not going to get very far. What do you think is more important, motivation or drive?
Say that again, Lance.
What do you think is more important when you're trying to accomplish something, motivation or drive?
Well, the easy answer, and it's an obvious answer, is you got to be motivated to have the drive. And if you lots of people would like the end result, but do they have the drive to get there? I mean, I'm motivated to be the best agent in the world. I'm motivated to be the best hockey owner in the world. But you need a lot of drive to get to the end, and and you need really an attention to detail, a commitment to be the best you can be. And one thing that's driven me over the years, and I guess it's just part of my DNA, or how my mom and dad brought me up, but it's amazing what fear of failure does. When I think of when I've had some lows and I'm building my business, boy, oh boy, I just couldn't have dealt with myself if I failed. So the fear of failure has been a driver for me. And you got me thinking too, as I was sharing with you some thoughts on what young athletes should do. For young entrepreneurs, the one thing I did really, really well when I started was not get ahead of myself. And I watched some of my peers who started in my business, and they'd rent the cool office space and go and purchase office furniture on credit and staff up. I was very careful not to get ahead of myself. Build the business, and the rest of that will fall into place. And you can staff up when you need to. You can have the appropriate office space when it's appropriate and affordable. And I watch a lot of entrepreneurs get a little ahead of themselves and do those things a little too early when they're not ready financially or mentally.
Yeah, and sometimes you need some months or years to just gain some experiences, good and bad, before you make any of those big decisions. So great messaging, Elliott. So one last question. If there's one thing that resonates with me throughout this whole interview is your sense of community pride. What does the city of Mississauga and its community mean to you?
You know, my kids were born here. I live here. I have many friends here. As I mentioned, my motivation in creating the marathon was I'm proud to be from Mississauga, and I want to show Mississauga to the world. And with the hockey team, I didn't want to see the team leave, because as hockey franchises go, once a team leaves, near impossible to get one back. It's important we all think about giving, and at the end of the day, I'm proud of the funds we've raised through the various charities through both my hockey team and our running event. And that's going to be the motivation going forward, is what can we do to make the community better, and how can we help those who need assistance? And I think we all felt if we didn't feel it over the past few years, trying to work our way through the pandemic, you'll never feel it. And it was difficult through those years. But I think many people who might not have been guided or driven that way, I think became that because they saw how much people needed, and also the sacrifices that all the frontline workers are making through this process. And that certainly was a motivator for me, and I think it was for many other people too.
Yeah. Well, I can't thank you enough for taking the time and sharing your journey. What an inspiration. But I think it's important to note that you didn't get it by just thinking about, the idea. You executed a plan for many, many years and kept evolving and building. So thank you and continued success with you. I want to wish you good luck in Game 5 coming up here, and also your 19th running of the marathon.
Well, thank you very much, and I'm nice to meet you and spend time with you, and I'm hopeful. If I don't see you on the start line, I'll see you inside an arena watching my team play. Hopefully that happens soon.
One of those things will definitely happen. So
okay, great.
You have a great day, and thank you very much.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Well, that concludes episode 29 of the Hockey Journey podcast. I can't thank you enough for stopping by and listening. I hope you enjoyed Elliott Kerr's hockey journey. And if you think there's someone in your circle of family and friends that might enjoy this interview, please share it with just one person. It will really help me in growing this hockey community. Again, I appreciate you being here. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, or leave a review. I hope to see you back here soon. And do me a favor, make someone close to you smile today. All the best, my friends.